Pope Leo XIV, Cardinal Robert Prevost. Scandals and controversies. No personal misconduct allegations. There are no credible reports or accusations that Cardinal Prevost, Pope Leo XIV, personally engaged in any misconduct or abuse. Coverage of his career notes that he rarely speaks in public and was a relative unknown on the global stage before the conclave. And none of the news profiles or analyses cite any personal wrongdoing. In short, his controversies center on administrative decisions, not personal behavior. Handling of abuse cases. All significant criticism of Prevost involves his handling of clergy abuse cases, both in Chicago and in Peru. Chicago, 2000. Father James Ray. In 2000, as Provincial Superior of the Augustinian Order in Chicago, Prevost approved housing for Father James Ray, a priest with a long history of child sex abuse allegations, at the St. John Stone Augustinian Friary in Hyde Park. The friary was half a block from a parish elementary school. According to diocesan records, this move required approval by now Bishop Robert Prevost. Ray had been suspended from ministry since 1991 after admitting inappropriate sexual behavior with boys. He was ultimately laicized in 2012 for multiple abuse cases. Critics, including the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, SNAP, argue that Prevost's decision endangered the safety of the children by placing an accused abuser so close to a school. A 2021 Chicago Sun-Times investigation confirmed the facts of the case. Cardinal Blase Cupic, later Archbishop of Chicago, later apologized for a similar 2018 incident in the same friary, and said at the time that such housing was not appropriate for priests accused of abuse. Prevost himself has not publicly commented on this episode. Prevost's defenders note that he acted before the U.S. Bishop's 2002 reforms and that Ray was under supervision, but the episode remains a focal point for critics. Peru, Chiclayo, 2014 to 2022. Mishandled abuse allegations. As Bishop of Chiclayo, 2015 to 2023, Prevost has been accused by victims and advocates of mishandling multiple abuse allegations. In 2022, 3 sisters in Chiclayo reported to civil authorities that they had been sexually abused as children by 2 diocesan priests, Fathers Eleuterio Vasquez and Ricardo Yescan. They say they contacted Bishop Prevost in April 2022, but were not asked to testify, and were not offered any psychological support. The women allege Prevost never formally opened a canonical investigation, and that any documentation sent to Rome was purposely designed to look inadequate so that no action would be taken. These victims' claims were reported in Catholic media, e.g., The Pillar and Crux. For example, The Pillar, September 2024, quotes the women. "We strenuously deny the existence of any initial investigation during the tenure of Prevost." Crux likewise notes news reports that Prevost failed to conduct an in-depth inquiry and closed the case before leaving for Rome. The Diocese of Chiclayo, however, strongly disputes these charges. Its official communiques say that Prevost did meet the sisters, encouraged them to report to civil authorities, and opened an initial canonical investigation, prohibiting the accused priest from ministry and forwarding the case to Rome. The local church notes that both the civil prosecutor and the Vatican's Doctrine Office eventually archived the case for lack of evidence. After Prevost was reassigned, his successor later reopened the case when one victim went public. In March 2025, SNAP formally petitioned the Vatican to investigate Prevost, accusing him of actions or omissions that blocked both civil and canonical inquiry. As National Catholic Reporter and others report, these accusations have made Prevost's candidacy controversial, while supporters characterize them as part of a smear campaign. Other church-related controversies. Sodalitium Christiani Vitae, XIV. Prevost's tenure in Peru intersected with the crisis around the Sodalitium Christiani Vitae, a lay movement mired in abuse scandals and formally suppressed by Pope Francis in January 2025. Crux notes that Ricardo Coronado, an ex-priest and former XIV member, has publicly accused Prevost of cover-ups in Chiclayo and even within the Augustinians. Coronado helped expose XIV abuses in 2015 and has since had conflicts with church authorities. He is himself under Vatican discipline. Irish Times and other media mention that critics link Prevost to sodalitium elements, while his allies insist the charges are politically motivated. For example, Prevost supporters note he has been criticized by members of a Peruvian-based Catholic movement that Francis disbanded, an apparent reference to sodalitium. In public statements, Prevost has denied any wrongdoing, and official sources close to the Augustinians have called the Coronado allegations patently false and suggested they stem from old personal and ideological grudges. Public statements and positions. Prevost's public positions on social issues are generally in line with mainstream church teaching. He has, for instance, lamented what he called sympathy for beliefs at odds with the gospel in relation to the homosexual lifestyle and alternative family structures. He has also said he opposed ordaining women as deacons. These views have drawn attention within the spectrum of church debate, but they have not become separate public scandals. On other fronts, Prevost has been noted for his advocacy for migrants and refugees while in Peru, a stance praised as part of Pope Francis's outreach. Dicastery for Bishops. As prefect of the Vatican's Dicastery for Bishops, from January 2023, Prevost's critics point out an ironic twist. The same office now responsible for enforcing accountability, Vos Estes Lux Mundi, was headed by someone accused of laxity in abuse cases. Media outlets have seized on this, noting that the head of the Dicastery of Bishops is under fire for precisely the kind of negligence his office adjudicates. However, no official censure or change in his Vatican role has been announced. The controversies remain at the level of reports and petitions, not formal church trials. Media and church reactions. Critical coverage. Several Catholic news outlets and advocacy groups have publicized Prevost's controversial cases. The Pillar and Crux ran detailed exposés, September 2024 to May 2025, on the Chiclayo accusations and the Ray case. Catholic Vote and Snap have highlighted survivor appeals for Vatican scrutiny. Secular press, Irish Times, Reuters, AP, etc., have noted these issues in profiles. For instance, the Irish Times reported that Prevost has drawn criticism over his dealings with priests accused of sexual abuse, describing one victim's charge that he mishandled an investigation. Reuters and AP coverage of his papacy focused more on historic aspects, First American Pope, etc., but Reuters' Vatican Bureau did report on related news like the dissolution of XIV. Supporters' response. Defenders of Prevost, including some fellow bishops and Vatican sources, say he followed canonical norms in Peru and acted according to both civil and canon law, and suggest the accusations are unfairly levied. The Irish Times notes supporters claim he's being targeted by people opposed to Francis's reforms. An Augustinian spokesman told Crux that Coronado's charges amount to character assassination, motivated by theological differences with Pope Francis. Prevost himself has not given extensive public interviews. His Vatican office has officially disputed or clarified criticism points, for example, stating that investigations were indeed opened and forwarded. Church hierarchy. Apart from these media exchanges and survivor petitions, there has been no formal disciplinary action against Prevost. He was named a Cardinal in 2023 and entrusted with a senior Vatican role despite the circulating allegations, implying that Pope Francis did not find them disqualifying at that time. Within church circles, reactions have been muted or partisan. Reform-minded clergy portray him as a Francis-style progressive, while conservative Catholics cite the abuse cases to question his record. In sum, all known controversy surrounding Cardinal Prevost involves administrative criticisms, primarily his decisions on handling, or allegedly mishandling, abuse cases, rather than any misconduct by Prevost himself. Sources. The above summary is based on detailed accounts from Catholic news media and mainstream outlets. For example, The Pillar and Crux, Mar-Sep 2024, document the Chicago and Chiclayo cases. Catholic Vote Snap releases, March 2025, describe survivor complaints. The Irish Times, May 2025, and Reuters, May 2025, provide context on Prevost's election and past criticisms. And Alatia and NCR offer analysis of the controversies. No credible evidence of personal abuse or scandal by Prevost has emerged in these sources.